Hard Talk with Jakim show.
Copyright disclaimer under Section 107 of the Copyright Act 1976. Allowance is made for fair use for purposes such as criticism, comment, news reporting, scholarship, and research. Fair use is a use permitted by copyright statute that might otherwise be infringing. Non-profit, educational, or personal use tips the balance in favor of
The
fair
views
use.
expressed at or through this broadcast is those of the individual host and guests in their individual capacities only. The information provided on this broadcast does not and is not intended to constitute legal advice. Instead, all information, content, and materials available on this broadcast are for general informational purposes only. All viewers should contact their attorney to obtain advice with respect to any...
Peace and blessings. This is Jakim from the Hard Talk with Jakim show. Can't get enough of the Hard Talk with Jakim show? You can email us at btom6164@gmail.com. That's bthomp6164@gmail.com. Peace. Peace and blessings, y'all. We are live, Facebook Live right now on a Friday. Yes, it's March 7th, and I've got a great guest for you tonight. I've got a young man out of Delaware. I think is going to be doing some big things. I've really got to really punch it up for him tonight. But before we get to that, let me just give you it. You can always contact us at btom, that's BTHOMP, 6164@gmail.com. And you always can see any of our programs on the Hard Talk with Jakim show on YouTube or on Delaware Info Now if you do not see it live. So let me just get into it, y'all. I'm going to introduce this young man, and I want him to tell you all the good things that he has done. To welcome to the Hard Talk stage, even though we're virtual right now, Mr. Terrell A. Williams. Thank you for joining us, brother.
Oh, thank you. I feel all the love. I've been wanting to catch up with you for a long time. I'm a big fan of your work, the podcast, your activism in the community, especially up there in northern Delaware and Wilmington. Been following you now for a couple of years, and
Thank you.
Where do you want to start?
All right. Well, listen, man, I've been watching you. I know you just had a campaign. You lost to that district, but I think you made some, real strideways into what's going on. And I see that you actually have a pulse of what's going down in Delaware. Well, right now, the first thing I want to talk about, and if anybody has seen my post in the last 3 days, I posted 3 posts on Facebook and on Instagram about Delmarva energy bills here in Delaware. And we're going to start on that for a second. Terrell, I'm going to tell you right now, these energy bills that we're getting from Delmarva, and I had posted on my Facebook page of a young lady who sent the bill out that it was 1 month bill, not a reoccurring thing that she had from before, over $900, and it was basically the delivery charges that Delmarva. My question is to you, is that our people down in Legg Hall, that's for people who don't know, Delaware, Dover is our capital, and Legislative Hall is down there. They approved Delmarva to do this. Am I right or wrong?
Yes, they gave, through legislation, they gave Delmarva the leeway to create these new funding opportunities and mechanisms that were supposed to be cheaper alternatives for Delawareans to receive energy. Instead, Delmarva used it as a mechanism to increase profit while delivering the same electricity that we all been receiving for the past 20, 30 years.
Yeah, you know what was so funny? What it ain't funny because people are gonna have to choose, like our sister Josie Roy, peace and shout out to her. People are gonna have to choose between heating their home or trying to get some eggs, and we ain't even gonna talk about the egg issue. Heating their homes or eating. This is an atrocity. What makes it very hypocritical to me, and you can expound on it. What makes it hypocritical to me is that a number of representatives and state senators who approved this last year during session now want to have talking sessions with Delmarva and the citizens to act like their hand wasn't in it. What do you say about that, bro?
Well, the first thing I'll say is that Delaware infrastructure has been behind on just development and accessing new energy alternatives. We should have been investing in clean energy. And when you allow a monopoly such as Delmarva to come in and be the sole source of energy providership or consumption in the state of Delaware, it allows them to dictate to us what exactly it is they're going to do. They're a quasi-governmental agency, but they're still private.
Yes.
They adhere to governmental regulations and oversight, but that's a for-profit company that only concern and interest is making money.
Yeah.
When some of the legislative bills were passed last year, again, it was with the intention that it'll be cheaper for consumers of Delmarva, and I'm a Delmarva consumer, to be able to select which method and which provider will be able to deliver their electricity to the state of Delaware and essentially to your home at a cheaper rate than what Delmarva usually charges us. Now, for us that are not energy experts, that's like us going to pay, let me see, who's a gas station right now?
Sunoco. Let's say Sunoco.
You could say Sunoco. So we're going to charge, Sunoco is going to charge us the regular amount for gas. But on top of that, they're going to charge us for the provider that brings Sunoco the gas for us to be able to put the gas in our car.
Yes. It is crazy. It is insane. To me, I believe that they're playing in our faces again. And I believe the legislators down there, the lawmakers are playing in our face because you knew this was going to happen. You knew that this winter was going to be one of those winters that we were going to, because we was due. It was due. And if you didn't know, you didn't want to know. I'm going to go stay one more topic on this Delmarva topic. One of the things that Delmarva is our big supplier here, but they're not the only supplier. A lot of different municipalities, I think in Sussex County and some in Kent, they have different people that supply them with electricity and gas. And not one of them has had the rate that Delmarva has done for most of us in northern Delaware. That's crazy.
Again, I will say this. Of course, we have Chesapeake and we have the other various utility companies that offer gas and electricity. The problem with Delaware is 90% of the energy that's funneled into the state is fossil fuel energy.
Yes.
It's unsustainable. Every other state has started to branch out and use clean energy initiatives, whether it be solar wind farms that's out in the middle of the ocean and that energy is brought back into the state, or we're using and approving solar panels, or we're using other alternative clean energy to bring down the cost. As America and the world transitions from fossil fuel to clean energy, the cost for using fossil fuel to a certain degree will continue to rise, because those businesses and organizations still need to turn a profit until they're unable to. Wow. And right now, Delmarva is like, hey, we're going to collect right now, because in 10 years, there's no guarantee that this may be our bread and butter for profit.
You're absolutely right. And I just got something in my emails about a protest that they're having at the end of this month to stop Donald Trump and the oil oligarchs stuff that they're going to do in Washington, D.C. Somebody invited me to it. I don't know if I'm going to go, but yeah, you're absolutely right. I think that what Delmarva has done in this, and I'm only going to say this just one more time. What Delmarva has done has shown not only Delmarva, remember, this is the same company that owns the power grid in Atlantic City as well, and a few other places. And so not only did we rise, they rose too. They got that same letter saying, "Oh, y'all should think about less use and all that." And you know that ain't the reason why you got more
energy efficient, more.
Yeah, you need. They always try to put the onus on the customer instead of trying to say, "Prove to us why you are charging us so much delivery charges when you haven't upgraded your system."
Well, what I will say is, and I'm gonna push back on the statement. Not that you're wrong, but I will say this: that many of the legislators that approved that bill that allowed Delmarva to increase their rates, they didn't know what was coming because they didn't understand the language that was being used, and some of them, because of their lack of education, their lack of willingness to grow and learn about new things beyond their particular expertise, ignored the writing on the wall.
Well, let me just say this, Terrell, and I don't want to cut you off. Then they got to be held accountable. You've got to be held accountable for your ignorance when you are a public servant. And there's a new day, y'all. I don't know, and Terrell will tell you, there's a new day. We're no longer going to just say we're going to vote for this person because we know them from back when they was Junebug in the neighborhood. We're going to hold you accountable. I don't care who you are. No one gets a pass in this day and age for ignorance. No one.
No. Look, half the legislature probably needs to be gone.
And we all know that, bro. So let me switch gears on you before it looks like we got some comments. Keep your comments coming. You can always comment on the Facebook page if you're watching now. I see some people are watching, coming in and out. You always can comment on the Facebook page, and if you comment on the Facebook page, I will put that comment up if it's legitimate. We don't put stupid mess up. We don't give two craps about your stupid opinion. If your opinion is legitimate, I will put it up. Now, let me just crash out, and I ain't gonna crash out on everybody, but I'm gonna crash out on some people today. The black cowardness here in Delaware, and this is an issue that I've had for the 20 years in Delaware. Why are there so many black cowards? Now, I was just in Tennessee, I was just in other states, and believe me, they got cowards there too, that are in politics or in the public eye.
You know what?
Hold on, let me just say this. But this state, we're too small to have so much. Go ahead, brother.
I will start by saying this. The Delaware Legislative Black Caucus failure to assist black candidates and promote a black legislative agenda is a tragedy all in of itself. I was on the campaign trail, and I'm gonna shout names because I won't be running.
And I don't care. I want you to.
Kendra Johnson, State Representative Kendra Johnson, told me at Lieutenant Governor Bethany Hall Long campaign event that, hey, I will not support you because State Representative Kevin Hensley is my friend, not my friend as in play, like my friend in real life because of their connection through the Easter Seals. So despite him being a Republican and us trying to flip a district for a supermajority in the state, she said she would not support me.
Despicable.
You know what? And from that point on, I knew that I was out there on my own, running my own campaign.
Yes.
I look at people and I say, outside of Medina, State Representative Medina Aton Wilson, Larry Lambert, our State Representative Sherry Dorsey Walker that ran for Lieutenant Governor, and a few other people, maybe two other people, I received no support for black elected leaders in this state.
Well, let me piggyback on that, brother, because we opening up a can of worms. If you're not paying attention, y'all, this is the Hard Talk with Jakim show. And listen, I've got a special guest, Terrell A. Williams, and we're going to talk about this right now. Let me just let you in on a secret. All of those names that you named off, I know every one of them. And one of the things I will tell you right now, when it comes to politics here, in fact, I believe the Delaware Black Caucus, which I founded, actually supported you. We actually endorsed you. We actually said, yes, this guy should be in. But it is all right for white Democrats in Delaware to support white Republicans, but they will never support a black candidate with an agenda to help the people. Every one of those. And the Black Caucus is number one on it. Number one with a bullet.
Yeah, you know what? I tell people, I look at it, and I ran on a very robust campaign. Looking back on some of the things I could have did differently, I probably was a little too progressive for my district, and I should have willed that back in. Again, I came up with 48% of the vote. I lost by 3 percentage points almost.
Right.
When I tell people what I was running on first, I look at Del State, and I'm like, Delaware only has one state university. But if you ask the average person, they think it's UD. UD is a private, nonprofit institution. When we talk about Black maternal health care, our state legislative speaker or leader right now is a Black woman who is a nurse. Where's the legislation at? Too many of the legislation that come through that's aimed at the Black community. I'm not talking about people of color. I'm talking specifically about Black people.
Right on.
Short. If you look at the legislation that was aimed towards Leah Board, what exactly happened with Leah Board?
Nothing.
Because right after they said, hey, we made these changes to Leah Board, we had that incident at Walmart. And the only reason why we saw the police tape was because Matt Myers decided to release it.
And he released it under duress. Believe me, I put pressure on him.
Exactly. So I tell people all the time, I'm looking for Delaware Legislative Black Caucus to assist Black candidates and promote a Black legislative agenda, and they're nowhere to be found. The Legislative Black Caucus.
Well, let me just let you on this, and I'm gonna let our viewers know. So, if you're talking about the Delaware Black Caucus,
the Legislative Black Caucus.
Legislative Black Caucus. Let me just be very clear. There's about 2 or 3 of them that are about something. The rest of them ain't about nothing. And
I think I named all 3 of them that was about something.
I'm gonna let you in the seat. I'm going right. Maybe I'm giving. That's why I said maybe. I put it out there.
Well,
maybe.
They lost one. One was running for lieutenant governor. She's no longer there. So maybe 2 or 3.
So let me just say this. There is a problem in the Delaware. In fact, in my district, I got 2 bums. I got my state senator is a bum, and my state representative is a bum. And this is in court. Let me just bring this back to you. Black folks in Delaware, the sleep is over. Wake up to the fact that Black candidates don't mean nothing. When a Black candidate is running for office and he's married to a white woman and won't bring her to nothing, that's telling you that they're about secrecy. They're about, if I was married to a white woman, I would be proud to bring her around. If I was married to her, I'm proud to be around my beautiful Black sister. But I'm not against anybody who is married to another, well, we all part of the human race, to another culture. I'm not against it. But when I see that that's your target, especially when you get around us, that you won't even bring that person around, that shows that you are about this program. Now, I'm going to say this real quick, and I'm going to get Terrell to speak on this. In Delaware, we have too many preachers, and I'm talking about male Black preachers, who want to be politicians. And my problem with these male Black preachers who want to be politicians is that we got a problem with the port. I'm going to be right back with Terrell Williams. We're going to take a quick break, y'all. I'm going to be right back with Terrell Williams. Terrell A. Williams. I like to put that A in there, man.
There's a lot of Terrells.
That's right. Terrell A. Williams, and we're going to talk about the BS that's going on in the Wilmington port. And we'll be right back with the Hard Talk with Jakim Show. Peace and blessings, y'all. This is Jakim from the Hard Talk with Jakim Show. Listen, I'm going to talk to you a little bit about why I'm holding up a law dictionary. You know, a lot of the things that we learned in school were things that didn't even matter. But that would have been something that's part of the curriculum that we should have learned. Because a lot of words that we think in the dictionary mean one thing, but in court proceedings, they mean another. I mean, from signing contracts to being sued to being criminally arrested, all of the big things in your life, they use a law dictionary against you. And most of the time, it's because you don't know what that word really means. So I'm just saying that we need to change our curriculum in the United States. Family, watch this.
I mean, just look at how money controls politics in America today. The Supreme Court's decision on the Citizens United case opened the floodgates for corporate money in elections. Billionaires and corporations pour millions and millions of dollars into political campaigns, drowning out the voices of ordinary people, of the whole electorate. They're hiring candidates, they're writing laws, they're purchasing policies that serve their interests. This isn't democracy, it's oligarchy. When a handful of wealthy individuals can dictate policy and sway elections, obviously democracy doesn't exist. Politicians just do a tour of duty in government to prove their loyalty to their funders before moving to highly paid positions in the private sector, working then for the same people that they worked for all along. The democracy they have is the one they always intended to have, which is one in which only the rich and the owners of the society have any say. You have the right to free speech only because no one listens to you.
All right, that was from Brother Shaheed. And listen, he's absolutely right with that. You only have the right to free speech in America is because nobody listens to you. Because as soon as they start listening to you, you can bet to believe you will not have the right to free speech. Listen, this is the Hard Talk with Jakim Show. We're back with the exciting Terrell A. Williams. And listen, Terrell, we're going to talk about the port of Wilmington and the fiasco. If y'all don't know, here in Delaware last month, we had 3 governors. We had John Carney at one time, then we had Bethany Hall Long at one time, and then we ended up with Matt Myers. We had 3 governors because of this political shenanigans that they love to do here in Delaware. Because John Carney went to run for mayor after he did nothing for 8 years as whatever. But the Port of Wilmington is one of our biggest assets here in Delaware. And now there's a fight for the board on the Port of Wilmington and the container port that they're trying to build in Edgemore that a judge has now put a hold on. What do you think about this fiasco at the Port of Wilmington?
Well, the first thing I'm going to start off by saying to all my black and brown brothers, to all the young men, young ladies that are graduating from high school right now, go and get a union job. If you do not, you go to college. If you do not want to go and get a trade, if you do not want to work at Walmart, Home Depot, or
Target,
please go and sign up for these apprentice programs that many of the unions are offering and get in on those jobs.
Skilled labor.
Next thing, for all the black and brown people there, I know we just had a brother appointed as one of the new leaders for the union in Delaware, for the building trades in Delaware, but the lack of black representation within the building trades and the unions throughout Delaware, it's mind-blowing. You mean to tell me is no black people that are able to ascend to the leadership ranks within the unions in Delaware? All of them have to be shop stewards?
Or laborers.
Or laborers? The concentration of white power at the top of some of the state's biggest unions is the problem. That's why stuff cannot get done. That is why we had 3 governors. That's why we had a That's why Jimmy Morvelis openly flirted with supporting the Republican candidate instead of Matt Myers.
Yeah.
Now let's get to the issue down at the building trades.
Let's get to the issue at the port.
I mean, at the port. I'm sorry. It's so much I want to say there, and I don't have necessarily all the information, but I'm looking at some of the contracts, and I'm looking at the leadership, and it always comes back to me. Our people don't have a dog in the race.
No.
It's not that many of us working there, and for us to get in, to be able to get an equal share of those good paying jobs, they have to allow people to carve out spaces and give people the opportunity. And right now, when I look at the leadership at the Wilmington Port Authority, I don't see enough of us. There is no diversity.
Well, let me give you this. Because the Wilmington Port is in my district, the 16th RD district, I was the Democratic leader for 7 years, and I'm still stupidly the treasurer. We got to change that in campaign finance too. I can't stop being the treasurer until somebody else gets appointed. That's some stupid crap there. But we need some campaign finance reform here too. But let me just get back to the Port of Wilmington. I'm going to tell you what I was telling them in 2012, what I was telling them in 2015, 16, 17. All these people that's supposed to have been all the labor people, all the labor union people who sold you a bill of goods when Gulf Tainer came in, they went out. These people come in, they come out. What they sell you is a bunch of bill of goods, and people like myself and others on the Route 9 corridor was telling you, don't believe the hype. So we had Jack Markell, we had John come and tell us all this crap. And yet, our shining example of the Port of Wilmington, when we could have had even more stuff. Yeah, I know the dredging and all that stuff, I know. But let me tell you, our power structure has been wilted a lot by these union members who kept voting for the same black or brown or white person. A lot of our union members in the Port of Wilmington, I'm going to talk to y'all real quick, and if y'all can send me those emails, remember BTOMP, BTHOFP 6164@gmail.com. Y'all are part of the problem. You're like Cat Williams said, you're part of the problem. You kept voting for the same people, and now you have nothing.
Well, I will say that Delaware, when it comes to the Port Authority, I don't think Delaware has been as competitive with Philadelphia, with New Jersey, with Baltimore, and bringing and attracting new industries to the port to make it sustainable, to make it viable, and to justify dredging up some more of that Delaware Bay. When I'm looking for industries to come into that port, I'm looking for something that's sustainable. Long-term.
Yes.
And when I look at the state of Delaware, one of the things that I ran on, I told people we're now into the 21st century, transition into the 22nd century. We are 25 years in. What new infrastructure, monument, anything has Delaware built that's a beacon of hope that points to the past, present, and future?
Well, let me answer that question. And I know it's a rhetorical question. Let me answer that question. We built the new Claymont train station that was over budget. We built the new Claymont train station that the passengers there can't even use the bathroom. We built the new Claymont train station on a steel mill place that was what we call used to be one of those super fun type things because it got all that metal. I liked it. Don't get me wrong. I traveled public transportation and I'm on the Dark Travel Advisory Committee. But I will tell you this. We do so many things wrong in the first state when it comes to public so-called public-private stuff. And we always pay top dollar when we don't need to.
Well, I will tell you, I was disappointed with the Claymont train station. You know why? Because Delaware didn't make a commitment to public transportation in the first state. Delaware has a population that is now over 1 million plus people. When the 2030 census comes out, we're going to be over 1 million plus people in one of the smallest condensed states in America. Our population ratio is going to be comparable to San Francisco or New York per people per square mile come 2030. With that being said, with all the cars on the road, Delaware, since I've been in Delaware, we've averaged almost 110 vehicular deaths per year. Over 10 years now. I'm a Philadelphian now.
Right.
So over 10 years. Some years we get 90. Last year I think we were up to 145, almost pushing 150.
Yeah.
Right? And that's been going on. That trend has increased every year. I tell people, if you want to move people around this state, the best way to do it is by public transportation, building a light rail system, connecting SEPTA to DART to MART, and uniting the Northeast corridor of public transportation. That way Amtrak can become the high-speed public transit system it was originally intended for back in the 1970s. So what building the Claymont train station did nothing. It's a glorified monument, right? It's like putting rims on a Ford Taurus. It looked good, but
it ain't mean nothing. Yeah, let me just
because we don't have the infrastructure to properly utilize it.
Yes. Let me piggyback on that, and you're absolutely right. So since I ride a lot of public transportation, I ride New York Transit System and New Jersey Transit, SEPTA, and DART. And like I always say, that the bus is my second car. One of the things that I always see when we talk about our transit system here in Delaware is how lack of people who ride the transit system that need to be riding it, because there's a lot of y'all that's driving that don't need to be driving right now. Because when I get on 95, I'm telling you right now, we only got 15 miles from the Delaware Memorial Bridge to the time that we out in Newark, and y'all drive crazy. And it's not always the Delawareans, but believe me, there's a lot of y'all out there. Our transit system here has to go through an overhaul. We just recently started getting a lot of buses that are doing Sunday schedules. We just started getting a lot of those that were going to 10 p.m. We just started getting it. And at the time that we're starting to get it, DART is trying to cut back on bus routes. DART is trying to cut back. There's something wrong with that. What do you think, bro?
So first off, I think we do need to overhaul the public transportation system. I tell people all the time, like you, I've lived in several states. I think Charlotte and Atlanta has mastered how to do public transportation in a state or a county, city, municipality that is car dominant, right? First off, we need regional stops. So no more every stop outside of Wilmington, outside Newark and Rehoboth. Everything else should be little transit hubs, and we should align it around parking rides, public transportation that go, especially in the area where I live in Middletown, that has super developments. You know what? You can park your car this quarter mile from your house, hop on the DART bus, and then you know what? In 5 to 10 years, when we get this light rail system up and going that connects northern Delaware with southern Delaware, that goes all the way down to the beach communities, that goes all the way down to the Chesapeake, Delmarva area. It connects with MART, connects with SEPTA. It will allow for way more people to freely move around this state. Right now, Delaware is a car-dominant society, and it doesn't have to be.
That is correct.
We can better utilize DART. We can better utilize the public transportation and some of the loop buses, small buses, to just be able to navigate smaller type communities that allow. Look, the next generation coming behind us, Generation Alpha, young millennials, they don't drive. They all catch Uber. They all catch trains. They prefer public transit. The caveat with that is they prefer trains instead of buses. This is what many people predicted as the future, right? Well, we're here, Delaware. Now we
The
have
future's now. Well, let me give a big shout out to Lavina. Lavina wanted to say that we're doing a great job, so big shout out to you, Lavina. One of the things that you're absolutely right, and I'm glad that you got to this part, because I'm going to swing from public transportation and the port. I'm going to swing now to what has become an ever growing problem in Delaware, especially here in Wilmington and Newcastle, and that's the homeless problem. And the other day I was in the Wilmington Library, and big shout outs to Jamal Raming. You're doing a great job over there. I like what you're doing. The problem that I find now with the homeless, and the Hard Talk with Jakim show is getting ready to do a 4-part series on homelessness here in Delaware. So in the month of March, I am going to have guests on that are going to tackle this homelessness problem that we have here in Delaware, especially northern Delaware. I do have some people lined up from Kent and Sussex County. But let me give you this. Once we started losing the beds at YMCA, once we started losing the beds at the, I forget the other place that used to be on 2nd over there by the fire hall that was there, we lost a lot of beds here. So now all you see is the guys and gals, they moving from maybe the Sunday breakfast mission over to Amtrak, from Amtrak over to Greyhound, from Greyhound over to the library, over from the library onto Market Street. And we see the same people constantly. Some of them are just living in bus shelters. We have got to be doing a better job. We have got to be getting, and yes, I know they've made the Hope Center another thing that we spent way too much money for, because I used to DJ there over at the I-95 Sheridan, and I know where it was a swamp in that pit. Our homelessness problem has to be tackled, and has to be tackled now. So if people needed to get some care or get some stuff, they need to be able to find those things. And I don't find that it's easy here. That's why we're going to do our 4-part series. What do you say about that, Terrell?
So I always tell people it comes down to 3 issues for me. So the first one is always mental health.
Right.
60 to 70% of the people that are homeless in the state of Delaware have some sort of mental health condition, whether it's diagnosed or undiagnosed. Let me start by saying this. Local, state, and federal government have to reinvest in mental health facilities. When I was a candidate and I was running, one of the things that I ran on was building standalone mental health facilities. Right now, I think the state of Delaware has only 2 state hospitals. We have resources available at our disposal where we could turn some of these prisons or some of these old college campuses into communal mental health facilities where we can treat those individuals who are mentally unstable to really be able to matriculate back into society as normal people. Those people are going to require some type of supervision, some type of security to protect themselves, not only from themselves, but from the public at large. Next, I would say affordability. The cost of housing in the state of Delaware is rampant. I'm looking, my first apartment when I moved to Delaware back in 2012, when I first moved here, was $800. Reasonable. Graduate from Cheney coming over, just starting law school, $800. That same apartment today, I went for my stepson and nephew. They wanted $1,800.
Yeah.
But it didn't change. They didn't upgrade. They didn't add brand new washer, state-of-the-art towel, a standalone bathtub. It is nothing new.
It's what we call greed.
Exactly. So the average Delawarean, the average Delaware family can't afford to live in the state of Delaware. That promotes homelessness. And then the last part is, I will say, for men in general, men specifically, where can a man go if he has no resources and he needs help starting over to get housing? Now, we had places for women and children to go, but for men, let's just say teenage boys from 16 on, where do you go if you're kicked out and you need support? What resources do we have in this state? Delaware State Social Service Program is a mess compared to what it is, compared to what Pennsylvania, New Jersey, and Maryland does. Delaware is lagging behind for West Virginia. The social services that we have in the state of Delaware are pretty much non-existent. Right now, Delmarva will tell you, if for those Delawareans that's unable to pay their electric bill, Delmarva will tell you, hey, go to Catholic Charitable Services. But Pennsylvania and New Jersey has some version of LIHEAP that's just run and managed through the state. You're not dependent upon corporate charities. So when we talk about the homeless problem, it's going to take an investment from local government. Newcastle County, you guys are going to have to open up the wallet.
Yes.
The state of Delaware, you're going to have to open up the wallet. And I know Governor Myers, Lieutenant Governor Kyle Gay are passionate about homelessness. I've talked to them both about it.
Right.
And those are the only two issues. Maybe a couple more that I know they passionate.
Let me jump in here, because the one thing I will say is, although it may have been, I don't know if it was a political stunt for them to pick up the I-95 Sheridan, but I will tell you this: both me, Nancy Willing, and other people that are community activists thought that we paid too much money for the county, paid too much money for it, and then to have the problems of people running it were having the money issues with it. I'm going to say this, and I say this with all due respect. I don't have faith that they can tackle a problem that is not as enormous as you may think. But if we don't tackle it now, it will be a big infection.
Well, you know what? I totally agree with you. And the next thing I was going to say is that when we're talking about an issue of homelessness and we're talking about the Hope Center, the next thing that I always tell people is that the government has to get back into the business of running things. This problem is too big for nonprofit organizations. And when you have nonprofit organizations that are being operated like for-profit organizations, where the money donated to the nonprofit organization stays at the top and doesn't trickle down to the mission or the cause or to the people that it's supposed to benefit, then it's not working. We might as well just pay the government official agent to just operate the center.
We do have a comment real quick. Big shout outs to LaShawn Jane, and again, big shout outs to Lavina, the poetess. LaShawn says, yeah, the Delmarva is abusing folks right now. There's a huge problem. That's right. We tackled that earlier. Am I right? We did tackle that. And you're right. And we hear you, LaShawn. And I just wanted to say this, LaShawn. Don't be fooled by these politicians that now want to have a community talk about it, because a lot of them were the people that voted for it. So when you go to those places, whether you go to city council, county council, or legislative hall, give it to them. Don't be shy to give it to them, because a lot of them voted for it. And if they didn't know what they was voting for, that's shame on them. They're supposed to be public servants. Go ahead, finish your point, Terrell.
So when we talk about nonprofit organizations and the contracts that our state and local governments are giving out to them to administer this care and this service to people suffering from mental health disorders and suffering from homelessness, just look at the top of the nonprofit structure.
Yes.
See how much the CEO is making.
Yes.
A lot at $500,000, but the CEO is making $250,000. How effective is that organization going to be at addressing the problem? I tell people we don't need no more show me organizations. We don't need any more Black people that want to pad their obituary resume telling us about the work they hope to do or the work they thought they were doing. I tell people, judge me on results.
That's right.
And when we're looking at the results right now, Delaware has a homeless problem. When we go up the embankment coming from Wilmington and we seeing people trying to live under I-95, we know we have a problem.
Or bus shelters over by, or bus shelters on Route 13 near Memorial Drive for a year and a half. I put that out there. A woman living on the street is a vulnerable person, period. I don't care how much she stinks, how much she doesn't stink. If she's living on the street, there's something wrong. I don't want to see women living on the streets.
Man, I don't want to see nobody.
Yes,
so
but definitely not women.
Definitely not women, definitely not children. So again, I will bring it back to it. Over 70% of people in the state of Delaware who are suffering from homelessness have some sort of mental health disability. And if we open up the mental health facilities that don't take away from our healthcare facilities to stabilize, triage, and then move these people to another location where they can receive the long-term care, is quite frankly, I tell people, I'm 42. So 1981, Reagan defunded mental health care in the state, in the United States, and our homeless population exploded.
Hold that thought for a second. I just got a word from my email. Somebody wanted me to talk about the reassessment before we get off tonight, and the property reassessment, and somebody just sent me, and yes, Danielle, I will get to it from my email. She wants to talk about the bad public education that we have in Delaware.
Yo, I was getting to that. I was not going to let us in this interview.
No, Danielle, listen, I'm going to talk about it right now. We'll be right back with the Hard Talk with Jakim. I'll be right back in 15 seconds. We're going to talk about the education system. We'll be right back with the Hard Talk with Jakim show. All right, y'all. I had to play my thing about Black leadership in Delaware. It's a circus. It's a clown show. It's nothing but butter biscuits out there doing their thing, looking out for their getting up tokens. And the tokens are mad that Trump might get rid of some of their token stuff. So, all right, y'all. We're going to just get back to Delaware's health education. So just going back, last year, we had a particular organization rank Delaware down there in the low 30s out of 50 states. I mean, we were right there with Mississippi and Alabama with our educational system. They ranked it. I don't think it was a fair ranking, but I think it might be a little more accurate than we think it is. Your thoughts on our educational system, Mr. Terrell A. Williams?
I ran on the education platform, and I'm gonna tell people that ranking was generous.
It was generous.
I lived in the number one school district, the so-called number one school district in the state of Delaware. I live in the Equinix school district. I have a kid that's going to public school. And you know what? By the time he graduates 5th grade, I'm probably going to have to put him in private school to catch up academically.
Remedial.
Because the education here is failing. So I tell people, public education is failing, not because of school violence, but due to an inferior academic curriculum. Our kids are coming out of high school and they can't read. They can't do basic math. They're being taught basic math in a way that me and you, Jakim, were never taught. So we can't even help them. And if we go to help them, we're teaching them something totally different than what's being taught and reinforced in school. I tell people, if you want to measure how well a school district is doing, just go and look at the ASVAB scores.
Oh, yeah.
If your school district has a high ASVAB score, then you know what? It's meeting the standard. If your school district has a low ASVAB score, then we have a problem. The ASVAB test is a 9th grade military entrance exam test.
Mm-hmm.
And
I remember it. I took it.
quite frankly, many of Delaware's graduates, not all of them, but many of them struggle to get a passing score.
Yes.
To get into the military. It's a 9th grade test. Basic reading and math. Right now, I think the 3rd grade test results came out, and a majority of 3rd graders were at or below the reading level. So we don't have that many exceeding. So the question many people ask themselves, well, is it the teachers? No.
No, it's not the teachers.
Reading right.
We got love for the teachers. Teachers are doing a great job.
Exactly. Is it school violence? No.
Nope.
Delaware doesn't have a school violence problem.
Very low.
So what is it? Is it the administrators? Are they making too much? The teachers not making enough? Yeah, that's part of the problem, but that's not the reason. It's the curriculum.
Yes.
The curriculum is terrible in the state of Delaware. It's not as vigorous as people think. The Appoquinimink School District would be middle of the pack in Pennsylvania, New Jersey, or Maryland.
Yes.
Let that sink
Especially
in.
New Jersey.
It will be middle of the pack in Pennsylvania, New Jersey, or Maryland. PG County would be higher. Lower Merion would be higher. Ridley Township in Pennsylvania would be
Salem County.
Salem County in New Jersey might be higher. So I tell people, when you're looking at it, don't look at all the hyperbole about how well it appears students are doing. Just look at the test results.
All right.
Are they teaching to the test? And
Well,
then one more thing, I would tell people, it is time, black people, trust me. I'm pro-black. I'm an HBCU graduate 2 times over.
there you go.
I'm a Philadelphian. Where my pen at? Pro-black. I teach at an HBCU. So when I say this, I mean it with love and affection. Get off the charter school bandwagon.
Yes.
If you are sending your kids to a charter school, stop it. Stop it. Do not let charter schools continue to pilfer poor, underfunded, underrepresented black kids. You're asking a charter school to teach your child at a fraction of the cost of public schools without none of the securities and benefits that public schools offer. It is the reason why this president is trying to dismantle the Department of Education. I don't care if your kid don't want to go to college or you don't think the kid got to go to college. I'm from a family that was built on union labor, built on veterans, serving in the military, and also college education. So it doesn't matter if we blue collar or white collar. Education has always been a foothold for upward mobility for African Americans in this country, and we have to get back to re-emphasizing education, no matter what it is our kids want to do.
Yes, Brother Terrell A. Williams has just said a mouthful there. He's absolutely right. Let me give a big shout out to Mr. Alvin Ruley, who is a teacher who's on here. Illiterate graduates is a national problem. Yes, Alvin, you are absolutely right. But let me just give you a little bit of what Jakim is going to think about this. Not only is it in Delaware a problem for us, for our children, I see 60 and 70-year-olds and 50-year-olds who are illiterate. I just happen to have a wife that's in that type of business that we have to talk to a lot of our Medicare elderly. And you can see it from right there that they weren't getting that education in the 50s. They weren't getting it in the 60s, 70s, 80s, and so on. And let me just give you something else about that that's ranking score that they gave us last year that Delaware was doing so poorly. The only reason they gave us, I think it was the Ann something, Casey Foundation. The only reason they gave us that score and to piggyback what you said about charter, is because the white kids are now doing terrible in Delaware. It's because the charter schools are doing terrible in Delaware. That's the only reason they gave us. Our school system has been bad for the 20 years that I have been here. It has been terrible. And the only reason they gave us that score is because they saw that the white children in these charter schools are doing just as bad.
Well, you know what? As a college professor, I come across, especially my freshmen. So I teach at Lincoln University, and I also teach at Drexel University Klein School of Law. So I'm a law school professor, and I'm a
There you go.
professor. So I tell people all the time, what I see right now is that technology has dumbed down a generation of people because of lazy parenting. So
Yes.
as my generation assimilated and young Gen Xers assimilated into adulthood, we moved away from disciplining and holding our kids accountable in a way that would foster some of those
pride.
Yes, that our ancestors instilled in us. But being able to read was such an empowering moment for African Americans that, you know what, it was expected that you at least go to school and learn how to read. Even if, you know what, you don't gotta go to college, but you're gonna get this high school diploma. And to see how many people in my generation decided, hey, I don't want this no more. Not because they can't get it, because they didn't want to put in the work. So when I hear that we have people that's illiterate, guys, look, I have to go back, work on pronunciations, right? I have to go back, I have to read. And I tell people, take the time out, read your newspaper.
Or do some reading. Now
if
let
we
me just
communicate in a manner that fosters intelligence will be groomed. It will be allowed to grow and manifest.
Yes, I agree with you 100%. And Alvin Rulli said from 1972 to 1989, 47% of the black graduates were functionally illiterate. Hey, Alvin, I will be the first one to tell you, I don't believe in that. You can never tell me about the good old days, because I could tell you, I'll put a picture of me in Fort Hamilton High School in Brooklyn, and the damn paint was chipping off the wall, which is a predominantly white school, and I got the same worst education at predominantly white school than I did at George Gershwin Junior High School, which was a predominantly black school. It's the curriculum, and like Brother Terrell said, it's the curriculum. Let me just,
Mr. Rulli, I will say this, right? Not just 47% of black people or black graduates are illiterate. About 52% of white people are.
Yes, I was going to piggyback on that. But yes, that's my point. And you're absolutely right. And let me just say this before we get to it, because we only got a little bit of time to talk about the reassessment. But when it comes to the education in this, your grandchildren and your great-grandchildren are going to ask you right now, for all the black cowards, what are you doing to change this? They're going to see what we put out today. All this stuff is data. All this stuff is ones and zeros, and it can last forever. And if you ain't out here trying to talk about what the school board is doing, what the curriculum is, if you ain't out here, your parents going to say, well, why should I listen to you? You ain't never did nothing for me. I'm doing it for your kids. I'm standing up for your grandchildren, your great-grandchildren. I just need y'all to get off,
out there.
Right. I just need y'all to get off the sidelines and get in the goddamn fight. All right, Joe. So I'm going to say one more time, we're going to talk real quick about the reassessment. This Tyler technology thing, I got that one-page thing. I was at Shayna Darby's thing. Councilwoman Shayna Darby had it this week. I was on it virtually. I don't know how they're coming up with these figures. I don't know how they come. I got a one-page thing where other neighbors down the block got 2 or 3 pages. Some of the neighbors whose houses are as big as mine or not as big as mine, they're getting paid less. And we used the organization Tyler Technology to do the whole state of Delaware. And if you look them up on the Better Business Bureau, you will see that they are data brokers. what's happening with our data, what they collect. I don't know what you feel about the reassessment. Terrell, go ahead.
So I'm mixed on the reassessment, and I'll tell people that it's been. I'm 42. I was born in 1982. I'll be 43 in June. It's been a long time since Delaware had a reassessment.
Right.
And right now, due to population growth, due to some of the strains on the county, we need the tax revenue coming in.
Right. We need the reassessment.
We need the reassessment. But now I have a problem because some people properties were taxed lower than mine, and some were taxed extremely high. And it appears that most of the people who had these exorbitant rates for the reassessment fees are people of color. They were extremely high in economically depressed minority communities, so they say, based off of what I've heard. I tell people, challenge everything.
Yes.
Make them itemize why your property is that way, and then go and research your neighbor's property.
Well, let me just say this: at the council chamber meeting that was done, a lot of the things that I think Tyler Technology was getting from was whether they're getting it from Redfin or they're getting it from Realtor.com because they're not coming into your thing. But we have 4 people come up on the podium say that their neighbor's property, remember, land value is important. If the neighbor property she has more property than me, and she's got the similar house, how in the hell she paying less? That just don't make other than other stuff.
I try to avoid calling it flat out racist and discriminatory.
But in America, we've had that. So,
well, redlining is very real.
It's what it is. Redlining is what it is.
So, again, I would go back and I tell everyone out there, you got to go back and you got to hold, again, Councilwoman Darby is a friend, hold her accountable. But not only that, call Newcastle County up, hold them accountable.
Right.
Then call your state representative, hold them accountable, because in the years ahead, in order to have fire service, police, water, sewage, we all want to have to pay a little bit more. Again, Delaware is over 1 million plus people, but the poorest are the economically disenfranchised shouldn't bear the brunt of paying for
the working class.
Exactly. So
let me just clarify. Yeah. We want a big shout out to Councilwoman Shane Darby for having that committee and being the chair on that committee, because we needed the public to actually voice what's going on with the assessment, because the reassessment is vital.
Look, I told people I challenged mine. I flat out challenged mine. You're not gonna ding me for being able to afford the house that I had, but then turn around and price me out on the backside of it. So you have to challenge it, and everyone, I suggest and I implore everyone to go back, do your research, because I look at my neighbors. My neighbors to my right, my white neighbor's house is worth more than me in my house, and then my neighbor to the left of me, and I'm like, hold up. I have a bigger house. My neighbor to the right of me has a bigger house. Why is the neighbor to the left with a smaller house have more property value?
Yeah.
We all sit on the same size lot.
Listen, we could continue this. We're going to have brother Terrell A. Williams back on the show again, because we have just scratched the surface. And for Black folks here, in Delaware, and big shout outs to all my people in Chester. I'm gonna be out there this weekend, in Chester, PA. Listen, the big sleep is over. I want to thank my guest tonight, Mr. Terrell A. Williams, and thank you for one exciting conversation with you. And if anybody wanted to get in contact with you, Terrell, how can they get in contact with you?
Well, I'm on Facebook. You guys can also email me, terrell.williams.esq@gmail.com. You guys, just email me, terrell.williams esq@gmail.com. And as I close out, I tell people all the time, the revolution will not be televised. You got to stand up. You got to be heard. If you're not an activist, you're a pedestrian, and you do not get to voice your opinion when shit hit the fan.
That's right. Listen, this has been the Hard Talk with Jakim show, man. And if you see me on the 13 bus going back and forth, or you see me on SEPTA, just give me a nice holler. You know what? It's a funny thing. Let me just say this before we leave. I see a lot of y'all, and y'all stare at me at these at Amtrak, and you stare at me whether I'm at the library, and you just say hello and keep it moving. That's how we do. We just say hello, give me a head nod, and keep it moving, man.
I was about to say, get a universal head nod.
That's right. That's what we do. Forgot about it. Listen, man, this has been a Hard Talk with Jakim show. And listen, we had a great guest here, Terrell A. Williams. I'm going to be back on next Friday. We got another guest on. And then check us out for our 4-part issue on homelessness in Delaware in March. I'm probably going to talk to you about that, Terrell. Probably going to have to interview you about some of those things about that homelessness. All right, y'all. So this has been the Hard Talk with Jakim show, man. We're going to peace out there. And listen, I'm going to leave you real quick with something from, let's see. I'm going to do it with Toni Morrison. I'm going to leave you with Toni Morrison. Remember, don't give it up. Always stay strong, y'all. Talk to y'all later. Peace.
You believe in upward mobility.
Of course.
Right?
Absolutely.
Of course you do.
But I'm not going to give up one drop of melanin in order to get there. I'm not going to erase my race or my gender to get there. I want all of it. I deserve all of it, and we all do. I don't want to be blanded, bleached out in order to participate in this country and walk any hall of power or corridor that I want to. If I'm not good enough, if I'm not smart enough, then that's it. I'll take that hit.
Judge me by my deeds.